Awobokun here with us. Mr. Awobokun is a business leader from Nigeria, a 2016 recipient of the Young Global Award from the World Economic Forum, a 2017 recipient of the prestigious Bishop Desmond Tutu Fellow from the African Leadership Initiative in South Africa. He's currently the MD CEO of Enyo Retail and Supply, and he's here to speak to us on the topic, what business leaders expect of HR in changing times. So thank you, Mr. Awobokun, for joining us.
Hey, don't mention it. Thank you very much. I'm here. I can hear you. I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, so we will kick off the session by me asking you some questions I think are currently on the lips of everybody at the moment. So we are currently at the moment, everybody seems to be working from home. The economy is just opening up. Prior to then, we had about 4 weeks of everybody was asked to stay at home. And this happens to be a global pandemic. So I think this particular session speaks to Nigeria and beyond the coast of Nigeria. So I'm just going to go to my first question. So we believe that the fundamental drivers of every organization and its people are the people, process, and technology. In view of this, would you say that organizations were able to prepare themselves to ensure workforce optimization during the lockdown as a result of COVID-19?
Hi, listen, I want to thank you guys for inviting me and also to apologize. I'm actually on the road in Ibadan. So I'm taking this from my car. So I hope the network holds up. Ibadan is different from Lagos, connectivity-wise. Hello to everybody. I hope you're all enjoying the rain. I'm on the road trying to make some money. Listen, it's an exciting time that we're in. I don't think that even the best, economic intelligence organizations or units in the most sophisticated countries saw this virus, this pandemic hitting, and they certainly didn't see it hitting the way that it did. And hey, we're all in Nigeria, we're all in the world. We can all see some of the effects, not just on the developed world, but also on developing countries, not just on first-class organizations and governments, but also on small businesses and micro small businesses, etc. And even though the numbers tell the story, the effect is actually on the people, on me and you, and people like me and you. To answer your question directly, Tayo, no, I don't think that we were prepared. I'm not sure that the best organizations with the best business continuity plans were prepared, because you may, as an organization, have technology and work from home policies, etc. But a lot of our business continuity measures assume that things happen to our businesses independently of the environment. So for example, we had business continuity initiatives that assume that one day if the office caught fire, we would still be able to operate. But the office didn't catch fire, and COVID was a completely different externality. So to answer your question directly, no, I do not think that the world was prepared for this. I don't think that organizations were prepared. I don't think that CEOs prepared their people properly. I don't believe that we had enough scenario planning, certainly not at the levels that we needed to have for this sort of challenge. I don't think that HR was prepared. I don't think the whole world was ready. I think we were all caught napping. I think, however, that scenario planning after this will improve, because now we know this sort of thing can happen. And there's a lot of work for everybody to do, employees, business owners, HR professionals, business continuity experts. There is now a lot of work for us all to do to prevent us being flat-footed if this sort of thing repeats itself. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your response. Just to refer to what you said about the world not being prepared for the pandemic, there's been quite a number of discussions, and one of them is the fact that speaks to Nigeria. So some people are saying that Nigeria knows that that China is one of its top 10 trade partners, and COVID-19 started towards late 2019, and there should have been some form of preparation or some sort of expectation that one way or the other that the COVID-19 would get to Nigeria, at least maybe not as it has eased us, but maybe at least to a certain level, and organizations should have tried as much as possible during the planning of 2020 objective that they should have put that into consideration. What's your thoughts around that, please?
Listen, hindsight is 2020. And so, yes, we are trade partners with China. China is a massive country, by the way, hundreds of millions of people. And they're trade partners with perhaps the whole world. So again, just to my response to your first question, we all didn't do a good job in preparing for this. I don't think there's any cop out here. Right up until the pandemic had hit Europe, the United Kingdom was still allowing visitors into the UK. They assumed that a herd mentality strategy was the best. I think the Nigerian government actually shut our borders fairly early, even though it was late, if you get what I mean. Perhaps we could have shut our borders a week earlier, but, again, hindsight is 2020. And so, Ty, I've got to tell you, my focus would really be on, first of all, ensuring that everybody is well and everybody is clear what to do, and that organizations are now taking leadership roles in preparing their people for the new realities. And also that organizations and governments are preparing for the next pandemic or the next catastrophe, learning from the last one. So I would be analytical about the past, what exactly happened, what we have done better, and then hopeful about the future. That would be my position.
Okay, thank you very much. Just to mention to the audience, if you have any questions, please post it in the question and answer box. Once I'm done with my questions with Mr. Awobokun, we will then go into your questions. Okay, so moving forward, what are the key elements that business leaders should focus on during the resumption from the lockdown, from your own perspective?
Well, look, I would say that what we're focusing on as an organization, which obviously would be my advice to my colleagues, other business leaders, is number one, teamwork, productivity, accountability, responsibility, ensuring that everybody is responsible for themselves and their families and their colleagues, which is staying healthy, staying safe, following their objectives, following the guidelines set by the government. That's number one. And then wherever they're working, making the most of the time, because one of the effects of the pandemic is that unfortunately businesses have suffered, and we've suffered over the last 60 days. And so everybody must now be very clear that we only have 6 more months left in a year. 3 months in those 6, we unfortunately were, operating under this cloak, which is the COVID-19. For the remainder of the 6 months, we will still be operating under the effects of the pandemic, howbeit, not at the levels that we were in April and May. And so leaders must focus on teamwork, productivity, positive energy, resilience. People must understand that things are tough. The situation is bad, but we must be resilient as a group of people. We must deploy emotional intelligence. What is the right response to the challenges that we're facing in the workplace, wherever we're working? Support each other without anybody asking for help. And last but not least, organizations must dig into their wells to get some innovation flowing through. We need innovation at this time. Innovation to allow us to collaborate with each other and get solutions to our common problems. Innovations to allow us start to develop transformative solutions to some of the new challenges that this season is throwing up. That's what I would advise. Teamwork, innovation, positive energy. Those are my thoughts.
Thank you very much. That was pretty up. Okay, so to my next question. Pre-COVID, organizations, HR to be precise, have been trying to churn out strategic initiatives on how to keep the talent, keep talent within the organization, keep them motivated, keep them, develop them, and also in terms of workforce engagement, ensuring that mentally, physically, everybody is fine. Now we have COVID-19 as its eaters and people are having to work from home. One of the key things that comes to mind is that as a business leader, how do you expect HR to manage to engage the workforce this period in order to ensure that maximum productivity is achieved within the organization?
Well, so let me tell you what I expect, right? I expect, first of all, that HR educates all line managers that the HR discipline doesn't only sit with the HR employees first, okay? The discipline actually sits with everybody across the line. So when I talk about HR, I talk about HR with that in mind. Some people are in the organization, they're HR disciplinarians, but the HR function actually sits on everybody's shoulder across the line. So the first thing I expect is, in this season, I expect all line managers, including the HR disciplinarians, all line managers, to commence higher levels of staff engagement. And it's very simple. You know, you can initially start with your handbook just to get everybody focused and start to say to yourself, guys, you know, it's a great season to dial in 1 hour every day, right? And have somebody who is a line manager talk or take a subject in the handbook and do it one after the other, an hour or two every day. All we're trying to achieve now is get people engaged, get people waking up early, get people thinking that they're at work even though they're working from home, because working from home is a discipline not everybody appreciates. So staff engagement is number one. Number two is I expect HR to then start to think of productivity. And there are numerous productivity tools. I expect them to start to use technology to drive productivity. So at Enyo, we have something we call EMV Cubed, which is the name of our own productivity measurement tool, right? What it does is it allows people to be accountable for the time of the day which they work and articulate what exactly they worked on, and also who in the bigger team they worked with. And the hours add up and they can self-decide whether or not they are making the most of their time. That's the second thing. The third thing is break the organization's key problems and challenges, okay, into bite-sized problems and challenges, and then deploy it to what I call focus groups. Okay, what that allows you to do is it allows groupthink around the things that are important to the organization. Keep the focus group conversations very agile, keep them short, keep them energized, get action items out of them, and make sure that people work on the action items outside the meetings and come back to the meetings every day just to improve on the output. Okay, that's what we've done. So number one, people engagement is ongoing. Number two, EMV Cubed is ongoing. Number three, focus groups is ongoing. Number four is then your normal appraisals. I need HR now to ensure that goals setting and the appraisal cycle is re-energized. So we in our organization do this every quarter. And so what we did was very quickly, we took a sample of goals that were set before COVID. We educated the team on revising those goals to be more sensitive to the realities of on ground, and very quickly we redeployed them. And then number 5, train. Use the opportunity as HR to ensure that the line does gap analysis on competencies, and then we start closing out those competencies very quickly, and we're recording the successes we're making, and we're celebrating as a team and sharing information as a team, and and getting ready for post-COVID or new life as it is, whether COVID or not. That's what we've done, and that's what I advise HR to do.
Okay, thank you very much for your response. I think your response has kind of captured my next question. So I'm just going to jump on to the next question, which is that the popular criticism of business owners globally has been a sort of native superiority and micromanagement, hiring of the smartest people and then imposing on them what to do. What are your views?
Ty, I'll tell you what it is. There are 2 sides to micromanaging. There's one side that says the leader himself needs to learn to delegate, okay, and keep moving up in terms of complexity of what he or she does. And as a leader, the more that I move up to more complex problems and more strategic initiatives in the organization, I really have no time to micromanage my team. I just measure results and articulate expectations. Okay, that's one side. Unfortunately, however, there's another side, which is that the team that the leader is working with consistently fail to deliver the quality of outcomes that the leader wants. What the leader will tend to do at that time is he or she will tend to dive deep into the team, may micromanage in a season to ensure that we get things right, and then hopefully jump right back into the boat, out of the water. Okay, so this is my view on your comment. Micromanaging never helps an organization to be consistently effective. There are times that you need to micromanage. There are times that you need to jump in as a leader, instill some confidence, find out what the root causes of the issues are, redelegate. But most importantly, all leaders, including myself, must understand that we are better serving the organization, operating at a strategic level, teaching our teams, casting a vision, articulating strategy, managing stakeholders, and ensuring that the output that we get is the quality it needs to be for the organization to deliver to the quality that it wants to. I hope you understand that. So I'm not saying micromanaging is altogether bad. I'm saying there's a season for it, but a leader is better served staying at the top, okay, with the agility to jump in, but most importantly, doing what he or she knows is his role, which is strategic, which is vision, which is managing people, okay, not managing what they're doing, but managing people, and most importantly, managing external stakeholders.
So I guess the onus is on the HR and the business leaders to sit down and identify what the key challenges are, why the workforce isn't performing as much as it should. And also for HR to equally, we train our leaders to understand that they need to learn how to delegate and also expect that people will do as they have been asked to do. But thank you very much for that. So one of my questions, so second to the last question for you, from me, I don't know from the audience. By the way, we have 160 people listening to you at the moment, myself inclusive. So naturally, a huge number of businesses are not experiencing the best of outcomes in this season. If you have one piece of advice for business leaders or / owners on how best to thrive through this time, what would it be?
Listen, Tayo, my advice at this time is let's be radical. Okay? At the end of the day, businesses that succeed are businesses that take risks in a way and manner that they very carefully eliminate their downfall. And so COVID has brought a new opportunity to all of us. It's that, hey, everybody's back to ground zero. Big organizations are not operating at full capacity. Neither are we smaller organizations. And so my advice is, can we be radical? Can we be courageous at this time? Can we innovate, leveraging technology to a level that we've never done before, we perhaps only saw in magazines, etc.? Can we be clearer about the value that we want to add to our consumers? Can our HR teams support their leaders to deepen the quality of talent in the organization, focus more on competencies, focus more on delivery, and less on emotion, less on who was here longer, who was here first, and some of those things that bedevil us, in the normal run of things? Can we tap into the innovation in the younger members of the team much more and allow the older members of the team and the more experienced guys develop a framework that allows innovation coming from the younger people to blossom? That's certainly what we're doing. We're diversifying very quickly. We're using COVID as an excuse, but we always wanted to diversify. We're bringing on younger and younger people from the field into head office conversations and getting their points of view, and changing staff incentive framework, changing work engagement framework, changing the culture of the organization, doing things that we previously thought, were alien to us. Simple things as simple as how we address each other, things as simple as who is an executive meeting. What are executive meetings with executives only going to really achieve in today's world, where all the innovation is on the shop floor, and then the executives meet and they think they can by themselves forge a path for the organization? That's what we're doing. That's what I advise. I think it's a great time to start to build organizations that are more resilient to some of these, disruptions in the future. This is the time to do that.
Thank you very much for your answer, for your response. So from what I pretty much hear you is that organizations need to become more agile. Sorry, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, organizations need to become agile, and I think this is basically an evaluation for, or rather, it's time for organizations or other leaders to reflect, to also use to assess as well the kind of workforce they currently have at the moment. Are these the kind of workforce that can actually still hack it during this period, or we have just had like those who have been locked into the past and just continuously would just expect that things will get back to normal, and then they continue with how they've always been used to the workplace. So I understand what you're pretty much saying, which is very much interesting. So my last question to you, I think you kind of like answered it in the previous response as well. I still want to say it because I want you to actually put it out there, what your opinion is, and so that we can all be clear on that. There are some people who claim that the so-called global digitalization is just mere peer pressure, keeping up with the Joneses trend that seems to be packing a lot more back than bites. What is your position on this?
Let me tell you something. Listen, if you have a paper document and your organization communicates strictly using physical documents, then obviously at some point you will need to digitize. But at that point that you're digitizing, you've got to admit that somewhere along the line, the world passed you by. So there's no point digitizing at that point. But don't believe that scanning your paper documents is digitizing. That's not digitizing. Okay, you have not digitized the organization. And so organizations that believe that digitization is mere peer pressure are going to be very challenged in the world that we live in today. And scanning old documents into a portal is not, you haven't digitized the organization, frankly. All you have done is you have digitized some old documents. Organizations that want to compete today appreciate time, appreciate and can measure effectiveness, appreciate and can measure innovation, output, and things like that. By the time you put those elements all into a basket, you find that you have no choice but to focus less on physical admin things. You got to focus less on handwritten memos. You got to focus less on printing. You got to focus less on physical meetings. I mean, but now I honestly don't know where in the world you're in, and we're having a very interesting conversation. And so I will not disparage organizations who are in different levels of understanding what it needs to be competitive. What I would do is I would encourage everybody listening. The competitiveness that we are, all engaged in, that we're all taking part in, requires for business to be done at the speed of thought. That means there's nothing wrong with a voice memo, frankly, sent by WhatsApp. There's nothing wrong with Zoom calls, with WebEx calls, with Google meetings, even Google board meetings. There's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with sharing information with a larger team using secure chat messaging groups. And there's nothing wrong in reducing our reliance on physical admin things. I haven't been to the office now in 4 months. In any case, I hated the office. Okay, so I'm very happy to work on the field. I'm a salesman, and I'm very happy for my team to work on the field as well. And if you send me an email, I promise to reply, but I don't promise to reply immediately because I haven't read it. I do very well with chats. I do very well with WhatsApps, etc. And let me even tell you this. I'm bored of Instagram. We're moving our videos in the office to TikTok. Okay, that's what we're doing. We're literally asking ourselves, how can we do things in the most innovative way possible, where people can access it on a mobile device, they can respond and give feedback to us on the go, and all that information is a cloud somewhere available to everybody who has the privilege to get that information to use. So that's my view about digitization. It's not about scanning or printing old documents. It's about positioning your business to be able to move and execute at the speed of thought.
Fantastic. So I guess people who have failed to move with the trends of time, I think it's probably the high time for them to hang their boots and enjoy their pension money.
Well, if they've earned a pension, they should. If they haven't,
No problem. Okay, so we have about 14 minutes left for this session, so I'm just going to go to our audience and read out some of their questions. So I have an anonymous asking, how should HR professionals align their interventions strategy to the business new direction?
Well, listen, let me tell you what I think about HR professionals. In my organization, I see my HR group as my strategic thought partners. They probably would hear of what I'm thinking about first, as soon as my CFO, so as soon as my ideas or the ideas in the organization get to me, right? If it's not my idea, if it's coming from the field, as soon as it gets to me, HR is probably the next person to hear it. The reason is because when God made heaven and earth and everything in between, as far as the Christians believe, God couldn't do much without making man to manage. And so I always say, guys, if we have a bright idea, you got to tell me the idea and show me the team to execute it. It's not enough to tell me a great idea and there's no team equipped, trained, incentivized, to make that idea happen. So we're going huge on a different tangent now from our core business. And the first thing we're doing is the line and the HR disciplinarians are helping us to put the best team possible in place for us to execute. So that's how I expect HR disciplinarians to think, and people along the line with HR responsibilities. Okay, it's the people come first, and it's not just an adage, it's a reality if you want to win.
I'm happy you actually respond. I'm not very happy at your response, and I hope that the entrepreneurs in the audience have listened to this and to understand the fact that the people are a very, very important asset in every organization. So you need to invest heavily in your workforce. Okay, the next question is, how are you ensuring the wellness of your employees in this period, especially those working from home?
Well, first of all, we have regular people engagement calls. I mentioned that. And those calls are not just with me, they're with different line managers, where we actually pick topics in a sequential manner, and we allow people to give us feedback as far as those topics are concerned, as to how they're faring and what their views are, and whether or not the way those concepts have been articulated still makes sense today. In addition to that, the organization invests in ensuring that they have the tools to communicate and work successfully from home. Third, we have channels to address some of the things happening in the macro, but more on a one-to-one basis with employees. So if you feel unwell or anybody in your family is unwell, there are private channels with which you can engage us, and we will use our resources as an organization to support you. And I must tell you guys, in addition to the COVID pandemic, there are other difficulties happening in the world today. We are also seeing increases in female harassment, especially now. And so even though COVID is important, there are other challenges that, the team are facing that organizations must be prepared to support them through. So we're talking to our women as well, okay, on the one hand, to educate them about the evils, in this season around rape, around physical abuse of women. We're talking to them about managing their children, because now most children are home, okay, and also educating the men to be more supportive, educating the men to be leaders of sorts in some of these new challenges. So COVID is not the only pandemic actually raging in Nigeria or in the world today. There are other evils which organizations must support its team members with, and that's what we're doing.
Fantastic. So to the next question. Inversely, HR expects business leaders to support, drive, and exemplify much needed flexibility in employee performance at this time. What are your thoughts?
Look, there's never a time that employees, including myself, don't have to provide the best output possible. However, the best output possible must be thought about or articulated against the backdrop of what's happening in the macro. So I'll give you a good example. We have a suite of filling stations right across the country. We actually thought that we would grow at a certain rate, and different people in the organization have targets to grow. Hey, but there's been a lockdown. What has happened is there's been a realistic review of those targets by the leaders in our company. It's been cascaded to the whole team. We still expect high levels of output, but we don't expect that output now to be the same degree of growth. We've rearticulated some of our targets, not all, okay, very mindful of what's happening in the season, but we haven't requested for less output in terms of effectiveness and efficiency, and other outcomes and quality of outcomes. No, we've just been more realistic with the actual outcomes and carried everybody along. So if your question to me is it right for businesses to still expect high levels of output from employees at this time? The answer is yes, but it's also right for businesses to review their targets and their budgets at this time in a way and manner that it's realistic with the season that we're in.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we just have about 3 minutes left, so we'll not be able to take all the questions. We'll try as much as possible. We'll share them with you if you can help us create time to respond to them. But I think before you leave, I just want you to give your thoughts around what your expectation of the new workplace would be post-COVID. What should we be expecting?
Look, let me tell you what I'm expecting. I'm expecting a faster work environment. One where we have started to release from our minds the concept that until you physically see somebody, work can't be done. Okay, one that allows people most effective. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
okay.
Yes, I can.
One does allow people to work from anywhere where they believe that they're most efficient, most effective. Okay, and we really care less about what people wear to work and what they don't wear and that sort of thing. Those things are the workplace of the past. So now we can get on with the work, get on with our output. And if we choose to have physical meetings, we can, and we would only have physical meetings where they're absolutely necessary. I see a workplace where information comes to you in more ways than it used to come to you before. And unfortunately, you have to be ready to respond. I see a workplace where employees must be more accountable for their time to their employers as well. And where employers are able to track, productivity at levels that they didn't track before. With all this, I expect that we will also invest in workplaces where innovation is encouraged. Innovation, in my view, is 3 things. Business acumen. People must collaborate. People must collaborate. Okay, collaborate with themselves, collaborate with other organizations. And third, we must all have a mind for transformation. This is how we did it before. This is the amount of energy and resources we deployed. This is the outcome we got. Well, we want a better outcome. We want to apply fewer resources, fewer effort, get a better outcome. So that's what I see. So what I expect to happen is things are happening faster. People are more responsible. People are engaging thoughts and ideas, numerous ways, many to many streams. And most importantly, innovation starts to bubble up and things start to change. That's what I expect to see.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir, for taking our time to discuss with us. We really do appreciate you, and thank you very much for a very insightful session. I'm sure that over 161 people listening to you right now have learned a lot from you, and we hope that when next we call you, you would answer our call. Thank you very much for your time. And,
you're a great guy. Thank you.